Hi, it's Matt with Olympus Reptiles. Today, instead of showing you a new snake, we're actually going to show you something I've had a few requests to do, and that is how to set up a ball python enclosure. One thing, if you guys have a question or something you'd like to see in a video, toss it in a comment, send me a message, do something, let us know, and we'll try to accommodate that if we can. But this is one of our quarantine cages that we've since cleaned out because we don't have anybody using it right now. So we're going to use this to show you what to do. As you can see, this is a pretty small cage. This would be, I would say, the right size to start off with for a juvenile baby ball, python to juvenile, and then you'll want to expand them into a 20-gallon long. Would be all the bigger they'll really need. First thing, and one of the most important things, is your heat source. This particular cage has an under-the-tank heat mat, which is what I recommend. It works a lot better than the lights. Ball pythons, they need belly heat. That's what they're used to in the wild. They live in termite dens, and they get their heat from underneath usually. So that is the best way to go for a nocturnal snake. When you buy those, they usually come with these little feet. Don't ignore these little feet. They're not just for decoration. You do need to put those feet onto that cage. The reason is this lifts the cage up a little bit, which allows airflow underneath the cage, and that's designed to prevent the mat from getting too hot and burning your snake. Worst thing you can do is spend $200 on a new, nice, really cool looking ball python, or even $40 on a normal at, say, one of your local pet stores, and then come home and cook it because you didn't put little feet on. It's not about how much it costs, it's about taking care of that little life that you're responsible for. So make sure and use those little feet so you get that airflow. The next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to need a substrate in there. There's several different things that can work, and you can kind of go fancy or you can go not so fancy. Some people will just use paper towels. I'm not really a fan of that. I use a lot of aspen bedding. When you do aspen bedding, make sure it's 100% pure aspen. Certain woods, like your cedars and pines and things, can be toxic for ball pythons because of the oils in them. Kiln dried pine is okay, but I think it's just easier to stay away from all that and go with aspen. Cypress is another good one. The substrate is important because one of the things it'll do, one, it gives your snake something nice to lay on, and another is it helps to hold the humidity. So in a glass cage like this, you will fight humidity issues, and we'll talk about that. So you want to get some substrate in there, probably about, enough to cover the bottom, give them a little bit of room to crawl into. I'll probably throw another handful or two now that I'm looking at that. And you can buy this stuff in bulk for pretty cheap. You can go out and buy the fancy reptile stuff, or you can even just buy general aspen. As long as 100% aspen, it should be fine. So saves you a little money if you get the non-reptile bag. It's not that it's not for reptiles, but when they brand it specifically for reptiles, they're going to charge you more. So either one kind of works. So that's kind of how we do that. The next thing your snake's going to need is a water dish. And you're going to want a water dish that's big enough for the snake to actually submerge itself in. So for a baby ball python, this size would work pretty well. They can actually fit into a lot tighter place than you can imagine. You gotta make sure it's not too tall so they can actually get up in there and get out so they get in there. And we've had success with these, so they'll last them for quite a while. So there we are on that. And of course you'd fill that with water, and you'd want to make it a little over half full. You don't want to fill it all the way because you're going to leave it slosh out and make a mess for you. So now you've got that covered. One of the next big things you're going to need is some gauges. I've got this gauge used somewhere else right now, but an Accurite gauge, something like this you can get from Walmart. You can put the probe inside the substrate. Don't tape it. Your snake will get on the tape. It'll cause damage to your snake. Do not use tape in your snake cage. But you can put that in there on that probe so you can monitor the temp. And you want to get this temperature where they're going to be at for heat to about 90 degrees. Between about 89 and 92 is right where you want to be. You don't really want to go any higher than that. Your snake is also going to need a hide. And you can go as pretty as you want, or you can use an old cheap dollar cereal bowl with a hole cut in it, like what we're doing here. Ball pythons in nature are pretty seclusive, especially during the daytime. So he'll go in here, he'll heat up, he'll do his thing, he'll hide, he'll come out, run around at night, and be pretty functional for you. So for your most basic of setup, you're going to need some bedding, a hide, water dish, belly heat, a secure lid. These particular cages have a sliding lid that locks in like that, and there's no way your little snake's going to get out of that. If you have little ones that are curious, it does come where you can put a lock in there. You do not need to put a lock on there to keep the snake in, but you may need to put a lock on there to keep other people out. The snake is not going to magically open this. These things are pretty escape proof. Another piece of equipment we recommend, and you can see on the wall over here, is a thermostat. You plug this guy into the wall, you plug your heat mat into it, and you can control the temp and not let your temperature get too hot. So that way, when the thermostat reaches a certain temperature, it'll shut off and keep from burning your snake. And that is really all you need for your basic ball python setup. You can go elaborate if you want. They make fancy rock hides. They make really fancy water dishes. Things that look kind of like this up here, you know, if you want it to be more natural looking. But do understand that you're going to pay a lot more money for a water dish like that instead of like a $1.50 bowl from, you know, the Dollar General or your local dollar store. So, any questions?
What about humidity?
Humidity. Humidity in these can be a problem. You can get another gauge. When you buy your AccuRite gauge, you can get ones that show you the humidity as well as the temperature. And it doesn't have to be AccuRite. Any brand will do. That's just what my local Walmart carries. So you want to keep your humidity about 50 to 60% usually. When you see them going into the shed, you want to bump it up to about 80. That can be a real fight because all that's going to come right at your screen top. There's a few things you can do to combat that. You can cover part of this with aluminum foil. Doesn't look the best. You can cover part of it with press and seal. You know, also not always the best looking thing, but looks probably better than aluminum foil. So people will lay a moist towel on top to kind of help the humidity in there. And then just depending on the room it's in can cause some humidity differences. So you do want to fight to keep that humidity there. Makes your snake eat better, keeps them healthier, makes them have a lot better sheds instead of having shedding issues when the humidity gets too low. Any other questions? Okay. Well, if you have any questions, don't feel free to ask. If there's something else you want to see on how to do something, please ask us. Thanks a ton.